Hello, everyone. If you're attending right now, this is the Teams Basics training. We are going to be starting at 10 a.m. this morning, but I just wanted to put up this slide so everybody knows that they are in the correct place. Hey everyone, just wanted to welcome anybody new to the Microsoft Teams daily training. Just so you know, we will be going live around 10 a.m. Just have the slide up right now so everybody knows that they are in the right place. So just give us about another 12 minutes or so and we'll get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is the team's daily training. We are going to be going live in just about 5 minutes. So, just to let you know, we will be starting around 10 a.m. Thank you for joining us today and look forward to getting started. All right, hello everybody and happy Monday. I'm going to go ahead and get started with introductions. My name is Shane and I'm going to be running this daily Teams training. We do have a Q&A section, so if you have any questions throughout the training, go ahead and type them in there. And we have Kyron and John who are going to be monitoring the questions and trying to answer them as best as they can. I will be pausing for questions between each section, and if anybody needs me to go over something again, they will let me know, and I can show you one more time. So, as you can see, the subject of today's training is Microsoft Teams, which is the hub for teamwork in Office 365. It integrates Office 365 productivity tools in one place and is the next level of communication through chat and calls, and collaboration, file sharing, co-authoring, and screen share. It intuitively brings together the people, information, and applications you use every day to achieve more. You can collaborate and communicate seamlessly. It's a single place for your teams to meet around unified objectives with easy access to the applications they use to be productive in their roles. You can even host voice and video meetings to bring the team together in real time. It has all the files that matter in one place. It's built on SharePoint, and it mitigates common workplace issues like document versioning confusion and permissions issues by housing and sharing your files in the cloud. And it has all your tools in one place. You can use both Microsoft-based and third-party solutions alongside each other in a hub that centralizes your workflows and communications. It is deeply integrated with Office 365, including utilization of your digital identity within Office 365. Permissions, presence, and more are tied to this identity. So we do like to talk about the 3 C's of Teams, and that's communicate, collaborate, and customize. You can communicate through chat, meetings, and calls. You can collaborate together with integrated Office 365 apps. You can customize your workplace and achieve more. And you can also make calls in Office 365 and Teams. Teams has a great cross-platform experience. When paired with your phone system, calling plan, and/or direct routing, Office 365 provides a full business calling experience in Teams on a global scale. You can have the desktop app, which is available on both Windows and Mac. You can download the mobile app, which is available on Android and iOS, or you can even just access it through the web itself, which we do recommend Edge and Chrome when accessing through the web. Alrighty, so give me one moment. I'm going to switch over to our actual Teams environment. Alrighty, so this is Microsoft Teams. So first I'm going to go over the user interface just a little bit, and then we will go over the different sections in more detail. So up here in the upper left, you have the different sections of Teams. Top is going to be activity, which is your activity feed. That's going to be like your notifications on your phone or in an app. Next, you have chat. Chat is going to be very similar to what you're used to with Skype for Business. And then you have Teams, which is really the meat and potatoes of the entire program. And then you have your calendar, very similar to how your calendar works in Outlook. And then you have the calls section where you can make calls and see your call history. And then files, where all of your files are going to live. Under that, there's an ellipsis, which you can use to add other apps. And then up top, we do have your search command bar. This will allow you to search everything in Teams, and we will go over that more in depth as well. And then over here, you do have your digital identity menu, which will allow you, in addition to changing your status and accessing your saved messages, you can also use to look at your team's specific settings. Alrighty, so the first thing that we are going to go over is the chat function of Teams. Because if you are used to Skype for Business, this is going to be very familiar to you. It does have very similar functionality to Skype, and your presence is tied to your digital identity. So everybody is going to have a presence. Let's see, I can actually zoom this in a little bit. There we go. Hopefully you can see a little bit better now. Everybody does have their presence tied to their digital identity. So you can see right here, Marvin is listed as offline. That's what that little X is right there. However, I am listed as available. That's what that green check mark is there. And that will change automatically depending on what you are doing. For example, I am currently presenting right now, and my Teams presence on my desktop app is set to Do Not Disturb because I am presenting, and Do Not Disturb will make it so I do not get any notifications popping in and disturbing what I'm doing. In addition to that, if you are in a call but not presenting, it'll set your presence to busy, which busy will still allow people to contact you and it will allow notifications to come in, but it means that somebody else can see you're busy, and if they message you, they can expect that maybe they will not hear back from you immediately. There's also Away, which will automatically trigger if you are away from your computer for more than 5 minutes, and you can manually set any of these availabilities yourself. However, do keep in mind that if you manually set an availability, it will not change back to available unless you manually set it back. So be careful when changing yourself to Do Not Disturb, as that will prevent all notifications from coming in. And if you forget to change yourself back to available, you will not be receiving any notifications. So these chats over here on the left are the chats that I am currently involved in. Any of your chats can be peer-to-peer, or you can have a group chat. So over here you can see Marvin. This is a peer-to-peer chat. This is just myself and Marvin. But right here we have another chat, which does have multiple people available. So we can see there are multiple people in this chat right now. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start a new chat with John. So I started a new chat with John, and you can see right here, John and I have already been communicating before. So that is one important thing to know about chat, is that your chat history is persistent. Even if you hide a chat, it will continue to keep your chat history. There is no way to delete that chat history. It just can be hidden. So you can see right now John is available and he's currently messaging me. What he did right here is called a mention, and we'll go over that shortly and what that actually means, but it is something that's meant to get my attention. So I use the search bar up here to create a new chat, but another way to do it is this button up here will allow you to create a new chat as well. But I'm going to go ahead and go back to my chat with John. So the first thing I want to go over within chats is going to be how to message and what all of these buttons down here mean. So the first one right here is formatting. Formatting will bring up the formatting menu, which will allow you to change the formatting of your messages to better suit the kind of message you want to send. So bold, italics, underline, strike through, as well as colors and other formatting options as well. You can even quote and add a hyperlink. So this way, if you want to give your message a little bit more flair, you can do that anytime you want with the formatting menu. After that, we have this exclamation point. The exclamation point will change what kind of message you're sending. So a standard message is just a standard notification based on the notification settings that the receiver has. An important message will mark a message as important, and I can go ahead and show you what that is like. So you can see right here, it's got the exclamation point on the side as well as the red highlight over here. And that'll show anybody who is receiving this message that it is important that they should pay attention to it as quickly as possible. If somebody has notifications disabled for regular chats, but they have notifications enabled for important messages, this will get through their notifications. In addition to important messages, you can also send urgent messages. Now, an urgent message is not something to be taken lightly. If I send an urgent message to John, he is going to get a notification every 2 minutes for 20 minutes through Teams. And that's going to ping him in the desktop app as well as in the mobile app if he's logged into both. And if he does not respond after 20 minutes, it will also send him an email saying that he missed an urgent message. So just FYI, again, not to be taken lightly. The next thing you can do is you can attach files. You can click on OneDrive right here, and that will link to your OneDrive for Business and allow you to attach a file through there, or you can upload directly from your computer. We'll go over uploading files in a little bit, but right now this is the normal way to do it, is clicking on this paperclip right here. Then the next couple options are going to be the fun things that you can add. Emojis are pretty standard now. Most everybody is used to emojis and what they bring to the table. That's just a nice way to add a little bit of flair to your messaging. And then there are GIFs and stickers. GIFs and stickers may or may not be available depending on your tenant, but just know that you can add GIFs and stickers if you are enabled. The next thing is going to be schedule a meeting. If I click on that button right there, it will automatically start to create a meeting and add John Franco to the attendees because he is the one that I was in the chat with. We'll go over creating new meetings a little bit later, but just know that you can press this button to create a new meeting with everybody currently involved in a chat. And then after that, you have the ability to add videos through Microsoft Stream. So if you have a link to a video hosted on Microsoft Stream, you can add that directly into the chat. And then you can also open up the praise menu. Oh, there we go. You can also open up the praise menu. We've already created some praises above in the chat, but this is a great way to show people that you appreciate the things that they have done. And you can see right up here, we do have some praises that we've already created. Now, the nice thing about praising is it does bring me to my next point of conversation, which is going to be mentions. So as you can see right here, we've got the @ symbol and my name shows up in orange right there. Over here, I mentioned John and his name shows up as a hyperlink that anybody who has access to this chat is able to look at this hyperlink and then open up a chat with John, send him an email, look at his organization, or start a video or audio call, or you can just start typing right in here to bring up a chat. Right down here, you can see John reacted to my message. So I sent him an emoji and he actually reacted with an emoji. Anytime that you send a message in Teams or in chat, anybody who has access to it can react. So you can see right here, this is the reaction menu. It gives all the different options that you can react with. And I can go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Now, if you have a group chat with a lot of people or you are working within a team and you send out some important information and maybe you don't necessarily need everybody to reply that they have read it, but you do want to make sure that they've read it, you can actually post and say, react to this post once you've read it. And that way, let's go ahead and change mine to a laughing emoji. That way you can look at the reactions and see everybody who has reacted. So that's a great way to make sure that the people who need to read your post are actually reading it. But when you mention somebody, this will send a notification to them as well, just like an important message would. So if you are in a group chat or in a team with a lot of people, again, and you need to make sure that a specific person is paying attention, but still everybody needs to see the message, you can mention them. Like I said, anybody can interact with that name, and if you are mentioned, it will highlight it in orange and show that the entire message has been highlighted, as well as this mention symbol over here. You also get a specific symbol that shows up in your notifications and on Teams when you yourself have been mentioned. So this is a chat with John, but let's say John and I are having a conversation and I want to add somebody else. I can go ahead and click this button right up here, which will allow me to add somebody else to a chat. So let's go. I know System Administrator is available, so I'm going to go ahead and add System Administrator to the chat. And now you can see I'm no longer in the one-on-one chat with John. I've now created a group conversation. And now I can go up here and I can see John and System Administrator are both in the chat. And now I can start typing in the chat and it will send everybody in that chat a message. And you can see right here who I've added to the chat. But you know what? Let's say that somebody else gets looped in on this chat as well. Let's say I need to add another person. Now that this is already a group chat, it's not going to create a whole new chat when I add somebody, which means I have the option of including chat history when I am adding somebody to the chat. I can decide not to include any of the chat history. I can include the history from the past number of days, and I can edit this number, or I can include all chat history. So when adding new people to a group message or a group chat, you can, again, choose to not have them see any of the chat history. So as you can see, John is posting in here, and if I wanted to, I could add somebody else to the chat and they would not see these messages. They would only see what we have said since they were added to the chat. And that's good for if maybe you're working on a project and you're going to be adding somebody to the chat temporarily, because, again, if I can click this button up here, I can also leave the chat if I want to. And I can also remove people from the chat if it is a group chat that I have created. So if it's a project, again, that has a temporary user that you just want to loop in real quick and ask them some questions, or if maybe you were working on something confidential and somebody else was brought in, but they can't know anything about what you were working on before, not showing chat history is a great way to keep that stuff private. Now, in addition to down here where it says schedule a meeting with everybody in this chat, you can also, up here in the upper right, do an ad hoc meeting from within a one-on-one or a group chat. So if I click on this audio call button or this video call button, it will actually start a call with everybody in this chat and send everybody a call notification. So now let's say I've created a new group chat and, you know, it says John and System over here, and maybe I have a couple different group chats with both of those people available in that group chat. So up here at this little pencil icon, I can actually rename this group chat. And what that'll do is it'll rename the chat over here. It'll rename the chat over here. And right here, you can see it says I changed the name. So anytime anybody changes the name, it'll show within the chat. So over here on the left are going to be all of the chats that you have interacted with most recently. But in addition to renaming a chat, I can also do something else that'll help me find important chats. So let's say this group chat right here and my chat with John are both chats that I find myself coming back to over and over again. And every time you have a new chat, it's going to show up at the top of your recent list. And maybe John and I haven't spoken for about a week, but I still want to be able to go back and find his messages as quickly as possible without it disappearing all the way into the bottom of the menu. This ellipsis right here will actually allow me to pin that chat. And so now, no matter what chats I'm added to or what chats I have with other people, they will show up down here in recent, but John will always be at the top. And I can also pin that group chat if I want to make sure that I always have access to that as well. In addition to pinning from this menu, you also have the option of marking as unread. Let's say if somebody sends you a message and you don't have time to read it right now, but you've already clicked on it and it's already marked it as read, you can mark it as unread so you know to come back to it later. You can also mute a chat, which will make it so you no longer get any kind of notifications, which is a little bit different than turning off notifications. Turning off notifications right here, if I click that, that was actually John himself. I had it set so that it would notify me when he is available, which if somebody is someone that you are working with closely, you can have it notify you when that person is available so that you know when you can go message them. Up here at the top, as you can see, it'll show our recent chats right here, but you can also click over here and it'll show your favorite contacts. That's another way to easily access the people that you speak with the most. And then any of these menus right here, recent, pinned, you can actually click on that arrow to collapse them. And that way, if your recent chats are taking up a lot of your space and you don't need to look at them, you can just click on that. So like I said before, you can add files to one-on-one and group chats by clicking this paperclip down here. We'll go over this a little bit more in depth when it comes to Teams, but also know that this tab up here where it says Files is something that you can access in any chat you're in, and that will allow you to see any files that have been shared between you and the people within that chat. Alrighty, so do we have any pressing questions when it comes to the chat feature in Teams?
Yes, I was actually just getting ready to respond to one now. The question is, previously you said that chat history is persistent and keeps history. Is this only for creator of chat or for both and all participants?
Alrighty, so chat history is persistent for if you are in a one-on-one chat, it is persistent for both members of that chat. If you are the creator of a group chat, you always have access to that chat history. And if you are added to a chat without showing chat history, you won't have access to that chat history. And if you leave a chat, you will not have access to the history of the chat after you've left it. But anytime that you are currently in a chat, you will always have access to that chat history.
And then I just want to quick add too, when you're adding a new person to a chat, you can select the amount of history they can go back and see the chat as well.
Yep, awesome. Thank you very much. Any other questions that we have before I move on to the next part?
We are looking good, Shane.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. So the next part I'm going to go over is Teams, which is the main part of the software, as you can probably tell by the name. A team is a workspace that you're either an owner or a member of. If you click on this button right here and you don't see any teams in this menu, that means you're not a member yet. If you are an owner of a team, you can go to settings and control various options. Depending on your tenant, if you want to create a team, you may need to request to create a team. So once you click on Teams right here, This part of the menu right here is going to be all the teams that you are currently a part of. And you can scroll through that list and see everything in there. Now, there are a couple different ways to join a team. Down here at the bottom, you can see join or create a team. Now, when a team is created, it can be either a public team, a private team, or an organization-wide team. If it's an organization-wide team, that means everybody in the organization will automatically be added to that team. If it is a public team, it means the owner can still manually add members to the team, but it also means when anybody in your organization clicks on join or create a team right here, public teams will show up in this list, and anybody in the organization will be able to join that team. If it is a private team, that means that the owner of the team will have to manually invite or approve new members of the team, either by generating a code where new people can enter the code right here, or sending a direct link to joining a team. If you are not the owner of a team, if you are a member, you can invite other people to the team, but just know that the owners of the team will have to approve whether or not those people can join the team. Now, every individual team is made up of a couple different sections. Within the team, these are called channels. And then within every channel, you have conversations, which are all these right here, and tabs, which are up at the top. Very similar to the kind of tabs that we had within our chats as well. A channel is dedicated to a specific topic, department, or project. Conversations around that topic, department, and project are held here, and the channel can be customized with its own tabs up the top to bring resources into one place. A channel also creates a folder within SharePoint for the channel's shared files. So as you can see right here, instead of the normal one-on-one or group chats that we had in the chat section, everything is an actual conversation. So as you can see right here, Arthur said, hey, and I went and I replied, welcome, Arthur. So under every conversation is going to be this little reply button right here. And when you reply to something, it'll show up grouped with the conversation that you have replied to. So it's going to be more similar to what we're used to with social media than it is for actual texting or direct messaging. And that's a great way to prevent things from getting too cluttered, because every time somebody makes a new post, it will show up as the most recent post. And because of that, replying by clicking this button is going to be the easiest way to keep your conversations contained. Now, as you can see with every message, we do have a lot of the same options we did in chat. You can react to the messages right here. If you click this ellipsis, you can also click here to save this message, mark it as unread, copy a link directly to that message, share to Outlook, which will send you an email with that message in it, open it in Immersive Reader, and turn off notifications for the channel. As you can see, John mentioned me right here, so you can mention people in Teams as well as chats. And there's also a new thing that you can do within Teams as well. So if you hit the format button down here again, instead of just creating a new conversation, I can actually create an announcement. And so the announcement will have a big headline with the background. Now you can click on this button right here to change the color of the background, or you can click this button right here to add a background image, which will be something you'll need to upload from your computer. This is a great way if you are trying to, I'm just going to discard this one right now. Yep. That's a great way if you want to make sure that it's something that everybody can pay attention to, because in addition to creating a new announcement, you can also mark it as important. So not only is this an announcement, but I can also mark it as important. It'll send notifications to people, and it'll be very eye-catching when they are scrolling through the Teams. Now, in addition to just creating an announcement, I can also decide to post this in multiple channels. So let's say you have something you want to say, and it is relevant to multiple teams that you're a part of. You can click on post in multiple channels, and you can actually add channels from the same team, as well as add channels from different teams. And so if you post something in multiple channels, it will show up in all of those channels at the same time, and anyone can interact with it. Do keep in mind, though, that replies will be unique to the channel that they were replied from. So if I post this to Hazmat and Environmental Program, and I also post it to City Construction and Inspections, then people who reply in Hazmat and Environmental Program cannot be seen by the people who are in City Construction and Inspections. So do keep that in mind when posting to multiple channels. Yep, discard. So we talked about tabs a little bit before. Tabs are a great way to give team members quick access to resources. So let me see, because I think I have is it this one? Yeah, here we go. So here is a team that already has a bunch of tabs at the top. So I'll go through each of the tabs. Posts is obviously just all of the conversations within the teams. Files are going to be any files that have been uploaded to that team. So anytime anybody posts a file, it will show up within this tab right here. And from within this file tab, you can actually do a couple things related to managing your files as well. You can create a new file, which will allow you to create any kind of Microsoft Office file, well, Word documents, Excel documents, PowerPoint, and OneNote notebooks. You can also create a folder. As you can see, we've got FEMA resource right here as a folder. And if I click on that, it will actually take me to all of the files within the folder, which doesn't look like it has any. You can also upload a file. And again, that's going to be, you'll be able to upload it from OneDrive or your computer itself, or you can upload a whole folder. Sync will allow you to sync specific folders, which ones you have on your computer or in cloud storage. Copy link will allow you to get links directly to files that have been uploaded. Download will allow you to download any files that you want. Add cloud storage will allow you to add third-party cloud storage. This is dependent on your tenant, though, so it is likely you will only be able to use OneDrive with Teams. And then open in SharePoint will allow us to open the files or folders that we're looking at in the actual SharePoint folder. And then for every file and folder, there's also an ellipsis when you hover over it. That'll give us a couple new options as well. But it's going to be most of the same options with the addition of deleting, pinning to top, and renaming. Pinning to top is just like when we pinned a chat. If I click on that, it's going to show up at the top, and that way your most important stuff you can keep all the way at the top and not have to scroll through lists and lists and lists. But I'm going to go ahead and unpin that. So now you can see right here we have an Excel file. So if I go ahead and click on this Excel file, it is actually going to open directly inside of Teams. And now this is one of the coolest things about Teams, is that you can open all of your Word, PowerPoint, and Excel files directly within Teams itself. It'll open up in a version of the web app, and you can actually have this open along with other people as well. So multiple people can be working on the same file within Teams, and that's what we call co-authoring. Co-authoring does have a couple limitations in that if you are working on a Word document, you must be working on different paragraphs, so you can't both be working on the same paragraph. If you are working on a PowerPoint presentation, you must be working on different slides. And if you are working on an Excel spreadsheet, you must be working in different cells. But other than that, you can see that everything is the same as it would if you were using it in Excel itself. Right now I'm editing, but I can click on this and I can change it to just viewing so I don't accidentally change anything. I can add comments, and I can join a conversation. A conversation is actually going to be very similar to a group chat, but it's going to be everybody who has access to this file is involved in this conversation. And so you can have a conversation about a file without actually changing the file itself. And then in addition to that, we can click the ellipses. We can choose to open this in the browser, which will allow us to leave Teams itself and open it in the web app, or we can download the file itself. Now, if you download the file itself, keep in mind that any changes you make will not be reflected in the source file itself. So the nice thing about editing this file from within Teams itself, any changes you make will change the source file. You can always go back and look at a version history of the file, so you can look at all the changes other people have made and disable them if you want to. But if you download the file, you will be creating a new copy of the file, and it'll go back to that same problem that we have with emailing files back and forth, where sometimes we don't necessarily know what's the most up-to-date version. I'm going to go ahead and close that. So in addition to the Files tab, we also have the Wiki tab right here. The Wiki tab is you can create articles. It's going to be very similar to Wikipedia, where anybody in the team can edit the wiki pages. And this is a great way if you have some instructions on how to do something, or something that's maybe not a file that you've already created, but you can add articles in here on pretty much whatever you want. And you can navigate it. It's very similar to a OneNote notebook as well. So in addition to the Files and Wiki tab, you can also create your own tabs. So this right here is actually a planner. So you can see right here, a new tab has been created, and it does actually have Planner built into it. So you can add apps as new tabs, but you can also add, I believe this is, let's see. Yeah, this is the News tab. I can open up this one. It's another Planner tab. But if I click on Add a tab right here, we can actually see all sorts of different options for adding a tab. Excel will allow you to add an Excel spreadsheet as a tab. PowerPoint will allow you to add a PowerPoint presentation as a tab. Word will allow you to add a Word document as a tab. And you can also add a website as a tab and use any of these other Microsoft first-party apps. Keep in mind when you're adding a website as a tab, it does need to be a secured website, so it will need to start in HTTPS, not just HTTP. But this is a great way to organize all the research or all the resources that you need in one place. So let's say you're in a team and there's a website that everybody needs to access every day or even multiple times a day. You can add that website as a tab, because even if they, for some reason, are unable to open it from within Teams, you can always click on this little globe icon right here, and that'll take them directly to the website. So they don't need to book that website. It'll always be available for them in Teams. And then again, you have Stream for video. You can add SharePoint links. You can add PDFs, and you can add Power BI for data analysis as well. Depending on your tenant, you may be able to add some third-party stuff, but I do not believe that is available quite yet. So now that you are familiar with channels and tabs, I want to go over a little bit of Teams management. And this is not just management that owners can do. This is going to be things that you as a member can do to clean up this list a little bit. So the first thing is, every time a new team is created, it is automatically created with a general tab right here. So everybody who is in the team has access to this general tab, and it's going to be there for every single team that's been created, as you can see. Now, anytime a new team is created after the general tab, it will automatically show up in this hidden channels right here. So if I click on that, you can see there are already some channels that have been created. If you go to a channel that has been hidden, you can see it'll show up right here in italics. And that means that the channel is hidden. And if I navigate away from it, it's going to disappear back into that hidden channels menu. But let's say a new chat channel has been added that is very relevant to me and what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. I can actually click on show right here, and that will make that channel no longer be hidden, which means I can access it from this list at any time. In addition to being able to show and hide channels, if you click on this ellipsis over here, you can also do a few other things from this menu as well. You can manage the notifications for that channel. Usually channels themselves do not send notifications when there are new posts, only when you get mentioned or there are important messages, but you can actually set it so that every time a post is made, you get a notification. You can also pin individual channels. Just like when we were pinning chats, if you pin a channel, it'll show up at the very top of your menu right here. And you can actually pin multiple channels from several different teams. So as you can see, it'll say the channel name right here, and then underneath that, it will say the team that that channel is a part of. So that's another way to be able to organize this list by putting all your most important channels up here at the top. And again, like in chats, clicking on these little arrows will allow you to collapse these menus and only see what's relevant. Now, let's say you are a part of a team that you've worked with in the past or somebody added you to, and you don't necessarily want to leave the team, but you don't feel like it's something that you need to look at constantly. Over here in the ellipses for a team, you can actually choose to hide a team. So if you hide a team, just like in the chats, it'll show up down here under the hidden teams. So now you can see these are all the teams that I have hidden because I'm not a part of the West Coast Seattle team. Maybe sometimes I want to jump in and see what they're talking about, but it's not something that I need to see in my teams list every day, so I've hidden that team. Now, if you accidentally hide a team, that's easy. You can go ahead, click on the ellipses again, and click on show, and that'll put your team right there, right back into your list of teams. In addition to collapsing these categories, though, you can also collapse teams themselves. That way, if a team has a lot of channels you've enabled, but you don't need to see all those channels all the time, you can collapse them and be able to pull them up at any time. So in addition to having some channel-specific options, you can also have some team-specific options. We already went over hide, but if you are an owner of a team, you can manage your team. You can add a new channel, add a member. Now remember, if you are already a member and you're not an owner, you can add a member, but that member will need to be approved by an owner before they can join. You can also leave a team. Keep in mind when you do leave a team, it does send a message to everybody in the team that you have left the team. Again, if you're an owner, you can edit the team. You can also get a link to the team, and you can manage tags. Now, tags are pretty cool because earlier we talked about how you can mention individual people. Tags are a way that you can mention groups of people within a team. So right here, I have written accountants. So as you can see, I hovered over that. This is a tag group with 2 members in it. So this is a way that you can, if I go ahead and, oops, sorry. If I go to manage tags, that'll show us the tags menu, and you can see the tags that have been created for this team, and you can click on that and see who is a part. You can also create a group chat with a tag, and you can also change the tag name. And that way, if you have a group of people, maybe several groups of people that are all doing different jobs, and you want to be able to section them easily, and you want to be able to mention them, creating tags is a great way to do that. So if you are an owner of a team, clicking on Manage Team will bring you up to the team management menu, and this will allow you to change many different things within the team. First menu is going to be the members. You can see everybody who is currently a member of this team, as well as any tags that they have been added to. And you can also see what role they are. If I click on that, because I am an owner, I can actually change certain people's roles from owner to member. You actually do need to be careful, because if you are an owner and you're not the only owner, you can make yourself a member. And if you do that, you'll need to contact a different owner of the team to have them make you an owner again. Underneath that, we also have members and guests. These are going to be people who are either just members or they have been added to the tenant from outside as a guest. You can also search for your members right here, and you can add a member directly through this menu. If you click on add a member, it will allow you to search for people within your organization to add. Over here, you can see pending requests. Now, earlier I said if you're a member, you can still invite people to a team, but they need to be approved. This is where the requests will show up. You can also look at all of the channels within the team as well, and whether or not these channels are available for yourself or for members. So remember I said when new channels are created, they show up as hidden initially. That can actually be changed by the person creating the channel when it's creating. So I have MSDS, I'll go open that real quick. I have MSDS and ship recoding shown, but I can also decide to show OSHA safety and health and ship repairs, and that'll show those channels over there for me as well. And then I can also do the same thing for members. And then it can also show you when the last activity was. If anybody has deleted a channel, it will show up here as at the bottom. You can also look at different settings. You can change the team picture. So right here you can see this ship, but you can change the team picture to whatever you want. You can change member permissions. So this is dependent on your tenant, but when you create a new team, you can decide whether you want you members to be able to do different things, like creating channels, editing channels, adding apps, deleting their messages, so on and so forth. You can do the same thing for guests. You can choose who is allowed to mention either full teams or members. You can generate a team code, which only people within your organization can join with a team code. Otherwise, somebody outside of your organization will need the link to the team to join as a guest. You can also determine whether you want people to be allowed to use GIFs, stickers, and memes, or add custom memes. You can also set out automatic inappropriate content filtering. And then you can also choose who is allowed to add and edit tags. Next, we have analytics. This is great for people who love data. This will just show you how many users you have, how many messages have been made, how many apps you have, how much space your SharePoint files are taking up, and then some graphs as well. So that's good if you need to get some usage statistics on your teams. And then you can also change that from last 7 days to the last month as well. And then lastly, these are going to be all the apps that are available within your team. And you can go through and you can see all of the different apps that have been enabled. Alrighty, let's go back to general here. So, yeah.
So there's a question here. I want to see if you have an insight on this. The question is, if any external staff members, will they be permanent members of the team that they are invited to after one invite? And if Teams is also able to include external staff as well from different departments. Because I believe that may be a question for the admin of the
tenant. I believe it's a question for the admin of the environment, since they have a bit more control on who is able to be added as a guest, as well as who is able to be, I would say, invited as an external contact.
Yeah, that is actually up to the tenant holders themselves, whether or not people outside the organization are able to be added as guests. If you are within the same organization, you should not have any problems adding people with that outside of your department into new teams. But again, that may require you to request permission for that person to join. Yeah, so really adding people outside of your organization is up to the tenant. I don't think that it is available for GCC yet, but it may be something that's coming down the line.
Beautiful. Thank you, Shane.
All right, so I believe, yeah, these are just the, okay. So there are a few more options I wanted to go over for teams themselves. One of the things that you can do is you can actually get an email address for a specific team's channel. When you do that, it will generate an email address for that channel, which means that you or somebody who is even outside of the team is able to send emails that will show up as a post within that channel itself. So if there is somebody who you are not able to add to the team because they are outside of your organization, but they have a message that they need to send to your team and show everybody in the team, you can actually give them this email address and they'll be able to email the channel within the team. And if you want them to no longer have access to this, you can remove that email address as well. And you can also decide who you want to be able to send emails to the team through this menu as well. I think other than that, yeah, connectors are going to be things that I don't think are available yet. So in just a couple minutes, I am going to go over calendar and meetings, because one of the things that you can do from within a channel is, like I was able to schedule a meeting with everybody in a group chat, I can also click on this button right here, which will meet now. So if I click that button, it will send a meeting invitation to everybody who is currently a part of this team. And that way, if there's something important that you need to go over with your team right now, you can click on that Meet Now button, and it will allow you to send an invite to everybody in the team right away. So before I move on to calendar, I just want to go ahead and reiterate a couple things. Keep in mind that each of these conversations, instead of clicking down here to respond, you definitely want to make sure that you're clicking on this reply button right here. You can always use formatting to make your messages more interesting. Again, you can add bold, italics, underline, strike through, colors, as well as other options as well. Don't forget to tag people if you need to talk to them. Again, that's just @ symbol, and then you can start typing somebody's name, and that will mention them. And anytime that you go to send an email, it's always best to think, is this something that needs to be an email, or can I post this in a team or a chat instead? Make sure that whenever you want access to a document, you check to see if somebody has uploaded it in Teams, because if somebody has uploaded it in Teams, any changes you make will reflect the source document And so that way you can co-author with your peers very easily. It does automatically autosave, but you do have the option of opening files in your desktop version. Let me go ahead. Yeah, here we go. So if somebody posts a file directly into a channel, you can see it'll show up like this. But you can also click on these ellipses and you can choose to edit it in Teams. You can choose to open it in your desktop app. Now, opening in your desktop app is going to be different than downloading it. If you click open in desktop app here, what will happen is it will actually stream a copy of the file to your desktop app. It'll give you a couple more options because the web app for Microsoft Office products don't have all of the features of Microsoft Office itself. They do have most of them. They have all the same formatting features, but a lot of the extra features are not available in the web apps. So opening in the desktop app can be more helpful if you want to be able to have access to all of the features of Office. And even if you open it in the desktop app, you still are able to co-author because, like I said, it does stream a version of the file. And here you can see what it looks like. John scheduled a meeting within a channel, and it shows up like this to everybody in the channel. And you can click on that to see details of the meeting. So I'm going to move on to Calendar and talk about creating meetings and scheduling meetings. But first, I want to know, do we have any other pressing questions that you need me to go over before I move on?
Everything looks good so far, Shane.
All right, thank you very much, John. So over here on the left, you can see Calendar is going to be one of the options. This is going to be very similar to your Outlook calendar. Right now you can see I have a meeting from last week. I'm going to jump back to today. But any meetings that are created and you are invited to, that are created as Teams meetings, are going to show up in here in the calendar. So there are a couple different ways you can go about creating a new meeting. You can meet now, which meet now will essentially just start a meeting that you can then add people to, and I'm going to do that in a moment. But first I want to go over this button right here, the new meeting button. If you click on this arrow, you can actually schedule a meeting or create a live event. A live event is what we're doing right now, which is you will have a presenter and some producers to manage the chat, but only those people are the ones able to speak. Everybody else is just an attendee. But if you create a meeting, a Teams meeting, everybody who is invited to this meeting will be able to speak and share their screen and share their video. So as you can see here, you can decide what time zone it's going to be in. You can add a, I'm going to call it important meeting. You can add a title, and then you can add which attendees you want to see. So I'm going to add John, and I'm going to say system administrator needs to come to this meeting as well. And let's say Marvin too. Now, the nice thing about making a meeting in Teams is, again, it is tied to the presence of your digital identity. So right here, you can see that Marvin's name is actually red, which means Marvin is not available to meet right now. So I can go click on Scheduling Assistant up here, and you can see it lists Marvin as unavailable. So as we can see, Marvin is actually unavailable to meet right now. So Scheduling Assistant is very helpful when creating new meetings because it will give you suggested times where everybody is available. If it can't find a time where everyone is available, it'll give you suggested times where the largest number of people are available. And you can look at Scheduling Assistant like this. And if people have the events that they are a part of listed publicly, it'll actually show you a schedule of all of the meetings that people are already in, and it will show you their schedules so you can look at what times you want to see. You can also set it, right now I'm scheduled 8 to 5, but I can uncheck view my work hours right here, and it'll actually show me the entire day. So maybe I want to make a meeting outside of work hours because it is an emergency. I can do that as well. So I'm going to go back to details. I can choose, just like when creating a meeting in Outlook, I can choose whether I want that meeting to repeat. I can add a channel. So I can actually click on any of these teams right here and click on a channel to add everybody in that channel to that meeting. And so that's really good if maybe you're already in a team with everybody that you need to attend the meeting. You can just go ahead and add that team to the meeting, and everybody who is a part of that team will get an invite to that meeting and will be able to join the meeting. You can add a location. So if you are meeting in a specific room in your building or a specific building on your campus, or maybe you want to meet at the Starbucks down the street, you can add a location to the meeting so that everybody knows where to go. And then if you have any specific details about this meeting, you can put that in there as well, and that will show to everybody who was invited. I'm going to go ahead and say 11:30 because it shows that Marvin is available at 11:30, and I will send that meeting. So now you can see it has created the meeting right here on my calendar. Because I invited the team, we're going to go down here. And here is my meeting that I have created. You can see my description of the meeting shows up right here. So everybody who sees this knows that they need to bring snacks to that meeting, and they know that it's at 11:30 and it's today. So if I click on that, it's going to take me back to this information. Now, because I have created the meeting, it actually allows me to edit it again once I have created it and clicked on that link. And down here, now that the meeting has been created, you can see anybody who is invited will be able to access this information here. It'll also send them an email based on their notification preferences, but they can click on this link from within Teams or from their email to join the meeting. And they can do that even if they don't have Teams installed. They can join the meeting from the web app or the mobile app. But it also gives you a conference ID and a call-in number. So maybe if you are unable to, let's say your call service is fine, but your LTE service isn't very good, or maybe you don't have very good Wi-Fi, you can call in instead, or maybe you're just going to be having access to a landline. You can call in this number and use this conference ID to join the meeting as a call-in member. Keep in mind, you won't be able to use video or share your screen if you call in that way, but that's a great way if maybe you're not at work or available to be able to use the Teams app. You can call in using this. Up here at the top, every meeting that is created does have its own chat. So you can see this is the opening of the chat of me creating the meeting, but everybody who is in the meeting via Teams, it doesn't work if you call in, but if you are in the meeting via Teams, you are able to chat within the meeting. This is a great way so that if somebody is presenting something, any questions can be added through here, or a conversation can be ongoing. And even after the meeting ends, you will still have access to this chat. And if you have a recurring meeting, this chat will be persistent through every one of those recurring meetings. So you can always go back and look at previous messages if you are in the next day of the meeting. Meeting notes is where while the meeting is going or before the meeting starts, you can take notes, which will allow you to have information available for everybody else who was on the meeting. And then whiteboard is a whiteboard, but I do not believe that it is available on the GCC tenant just yet. But that is a great way to, if you need to, draw out a diagram. So that's everything about creating a new meeting. But now I'm going to show you what it's like inside an actual meeting. Instead of joining this meeting, I'm just going to hit Meet Now. And that will create a, yes, allow. That will create a private meeting. So when you first start, you will see that it has the option, it gives you the option. I have not joined the meeting yet. I will not join until I click Join Now right here, but it will give you the option of disabling your camera and disabling your microphone. In fact, if you are joining a meeting that already has multiple participants, by default, your microphone will be off and you can choose to enable it if you want. I can also look at my devices. This is going to be like my headphones and my microphone, and will allow me to see exactly what kind of audio devices I'm using. I can also join with my audio off. So let's say the person presenting is actually sitting next to me. So I don't have to hear them speaking and coming through my computer. I can join with my audio off. And I can also use my phone for my audio instead. But I can use the screen. So that's a nice way if you're calling in, you can also use your computer screen to view. But I'm going to join with my mic off so that there's no feedback. And I'll click Join Now. And this is what a meeting looks like. So right now, if other people were in this meeting, they would be showing up here as well. Their video would be showing up. But this is the meeting bar right here, which gives you all of the options. Because I joined the meeting alone, it automatically popped up with the people menu over on the side. So you can see I'm the one in the meeting. I am the organizer. But I can also invite somebody to the meeting. If I click right here and I start typing, it'll bring up my organizational employees so that I can invite them, or I can even put in a phone number and call in a phone number for somebody to join the meeting as well. I'm not going to add anybody right now, but you can see this is how you do it, and anybody else that joins the meeting will show up in this list as well. You can even mute people from this menu as well in case maybe somebody forgot to join with their mic off and you want to make sure that they're not distracting. So down here, you can see this is how long the meeting has been going. You can turn your camera on. You can unmute yourself. This button will allow you to share your screen. I'm not going to do it right now because I'm already sharing my screen to the live event and I don't want to cut it off. But that's how you can share your screen to a meeting. Keep in mind right now, only one person can share their screen at a time. That is something that we we have gotten feedback about and that we are looking at fixing. But right now, only one person can share their screen at a time. If you click on this ellipsis, it'll give you some more options, including being able to look at fiddle with your device settings again. You can show the meeting notes. You can show the meeting details. You can make it full screen. You can bring up your keypad in case maybe you're using a Teams menu to call somebody and you need to maybe put in an extension number. You can record your meeting. It's definitely best etiquette to let everybody know that you are recording before you hit the record button. And you can also turn off incoming video. These two are good to use together. If you're going to record something, it's usually good to turn off everybody's incoming video first, and then let them know that you're recording, so that before they turn their video back on, they can make sure everything is presentable. Right here, You can show the conversation. This is that chat I was talking about. If there are multiple people in the meeting and not everybody is off of mute, they will be able to chat right here. And again, this shows up as a normal group chat and is available within your actual chats once the meeting is over. And then that meeting that we were in at the beginning, you can click by clicking Show Participants right here. Alrighty, so let me go ahead and hang up this meeting. That is one thing I like, by the way. If you are muted and it hears sound coming from you, it will tell you that your microphone is muted, so that if you start talking and you mean to present something, and you're looking at your screen, you can see it'll say your microphone is muted. So you can be like, oh no, let me take myself off of mute. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hang up. Call quality was great. So now you can see right here in my chat, it shows the chat that was going on during that meeting. So that way, again, if it's recurring, that chat will be persistent throughout all of the recurring events, and everybody will be able to view that chat as long as they were a part of it. So that is about everything with calendar. Do we have any pressing questions before I move on to the rest of the program?
I'm not sure if you went through it already, but have you created a Teams meeting through Outlook?
Oh, that's right. Let me go ahead and do that real quick.
Perfect. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you. Give me one moment. I do need to switch programs real quick. Alrighty, so if you have Microsoft Teams on your tenant, your copy of Outlook should have a new button right here that says New Teams Meeting. So Outlook will pull all of your Teams meetings into its calendar, but if you create a meeting through this button right here, that meeting will not show up in Teams. You have to click New Teams Meeting right here for that meeting to be able to show up both in Outlook and in Teams. So I went ahead and did that. Now creating the meeting is going to be the same as it was before. You add your attendees right here through the toolbar. You put in the subject of the meeting, the location. You can also click on the rooms button. And then it also has your suggested times over here as well. And then you can preview all of this information before you create it. You also have some specific Teams options. Right now, there's only one, so who can wait in the lobby, or you can directly join this meeting from here as well. And then you also have Room Finder over here. Can I make that bigger? Yeah, so you also have Room Finder, which is not something that's available in Teams yet. So if Room Finder is something you find yourself using a lot, you can create a Teams meeting from within Outlook in order to be able to use Room Finder, which I know a lot of people, depending on your organization, Room Finder is a very helpful thing that you can use. Oh, thank you. So as you can see, these are all of my Teams meetings that I'm a part of today. The nice thing is, if something is let me see. Yeah, and then I can go ahead and I can choose to accept, decline, join, all that sort of stuff. So being able to create new Teams meetings through Outlook is very simple. All right, I'm going to switch back to the Teams tenant, so just give me a second. Oops. Alrighty, so here we are back in Teams. Now, the next two sections over here, calls and files, are pretty simple because they're really just a consolidation of stuff we've already been using. So calls right here is going to be people in your favorite contacts will show up in your speed dial. You can also create groups of contacts within your speed dial as well. Your contacts is going to be everybody within your organization that you can search. History is going to be all of your call history, how long they lasted, what type of call they were, and when they were. And then if somebody calls you and you do not answer, you can also receive voicemail as well. And then down at the bottom, this is how you make a call right here. Click on this button, it'll allow you to make a call with whoever you like. And then also underneath that, we have files. These are going to be all of the files that you have access to within Teams. So recent is going to be the files that you have opened recently. If you click on Microsoft Teams right here, it's going to give you a list of all the files that you have access to in all of the teams that you are a part of. So yeah, now you can see, here you go. It'll give you the name, when it was modified, who it was modified by, and where it is. And then for each of these files, you can go through and decide how you want to open them. And then you can also attach your OneDrive. If I click on OneDrive right here, right now it's not enabled for this demo tenant, but this is how you would be able to access your OneDrive files directly through Teams and easily share your OneDrive files. Underneath that, we have this ellipsis. This will allow you to use any other apps you have. For example, Planner, where you can create and assign tasks to people. Forms, where you can create surveys and polls, as well as any other apps that you're able to use. Now I'm going to quickly go through activity up here at the top. Activity is going to be just like your notifications on your smartphone or your social media. You can see these are all things that have sent me a notification. So I have anytime anybody has reacted to any of my messages, any mentions that I may have, and you can see these symbols next to them right there. These are all actually things that you can sort. So if I click on this filter icon right here, I can click on the ellipses and I can sort my unread messages. I can sort for mentions. I can sort for replies. Basically any kind of message that I get, I can sort my activity by that message. You can also type to filter as well. So if I want to see all of my notifications that have to do with John, I can just type John there and it'll automatically sort my notifications by anything having to do with John. This is great if you've been away from Teams and you come back and you want to see everything important that's happened while you were gone. This is where all the notifications are going to live. In addition to your notification feed, you can also change to My Activity. So let's say you posted something in a channel and you can't remember exactly where you left it. You can go through your activity and look at everything you have posted in the past. Notification feed is pretty straightforward, but that leads me into the next bit. Up here on your digital identity, I already went over how you can change your availability. You can also set a status message
which will allow you to inform people if you are out of your office or if you are working on something. Saved will allow you to access all of your saved messages. And settings will allow you to change many settings from within Teams. For example, you can change it to dark mode, make it a little bit easier on the eyes. And if you require, you can also change it to high contrast mode, especially since some of the colors can be a little bit similar to each other. You can also change the language settings. Privacy has priority access. So when you have Do Not Disturb enabled, you can change your priority access so that certain people are still able to message you while you have Do Not Disturb enabled. You can also choose whether people see your read receipts. And you can also choose whether or not Teams is allowed to ask you for surveys. But your notification settings, this is going to be everything that shows up in your activity feed. If you have Teams on your phone, you will also be able to decide what notifications you get on your actual phone itself. But you can change mentions, personal mentions, channel mentions, team mentions, as well as messages that you're getting, as well as other various things. You can determine what shows up in your feed, what shows up as a banner, which is when it comes in from the side here, or what sends you an email. Now, for some things, I would recommend disabling the email option, because right here it says chat messages. That means that every time somebody sends you a chat message, you will get an email, which can fill up your inbox pretty quickly. Mentions, it might be best to keep on email, just because when somebody mentions, it means they want you to pay attention. But it's definitely worth going through these options and seeing what exactly you want to change. And then calls, you can change some things involving your calls. For example, whether or not you can have a voicemail set up, how long it rings before it goes to voicemail, configure your voicemail, as well as change your ringtones. Up top, I talked about the search bar earlier. This search bar is very extensive and will allow you to look at anything within Teams itself. So for example, I just typed cash, and now you can see over here on the left, I can sort that if I want to look at messages. Now let's say I was looking for this cash counting tool. I can look at, this is where Megan posted that within the team. But if I also go over to files, it'll actually give me a direct link to the file there. And then if I click on people, if anybody's name has cash in it, it'll show there as well. So for example, let me search for John. Now it shows me suggestions, but I'm going to click search just because that'll bring up the full menu. And now I can see here are all the messages that either John has posted or have John's name in them. So if I click on from, I can click on messages from someone. If I click on type, I can say what kind of type of message I want it to be, or I can have more filters right here. But if I click on people, now we can see John Franco, Joni Sherman, and Jonathan Storm. So as you can see, it's very easy to search, and search will come up with pretty much everything within Teams itself. It's very comprehensive. In fact, this right here is a file that was created by John. And so when I searched for him, it came up with the file that he created as well. So the search is very comprehensive. But in addition to being able to search, if you type /, it'll also give you a lot of different commands that you can play around with as well. You can change your availability. You can look at somebody's activity, so everything that they've posted. You can look at all of your mentions, but also you can look at your keyboard shortcuts. Keyboard shortcuts are also available in this menu right here. And I can tell you that if you learn these keyboard shortcuts, it'll go a long way towards making the use of Teams a lot easier. One of my favorites is Control-Shift-M, which will mute you, and it's a great way to be able to mute yourself without having to go press the mute button on the screen. The last thing that I want to go over is going to be this help menu right here. So if you click on that, it'll give you a couple different options. I'm going to click on topics first, but this is going to be everything that Teams has to offer and helpful articles on all the different things that Teams allows you to do. So for example, if I want to know how to schedule a meeting, I can click on that article and it'll give me a step-by-step guide on how to schedule a meeting and all the different things that you can do. So if there's anything that maybe wasn't answered on this live event, or you have more questions about, feel free to go through topics and read these articles. You can even look at how to do it on the mobile app, and this will give you a lot more information. But let's say you don't want to read an article, you just want to watch a video. Up next to topics, you have training, and training will give you little 2 to 3 minute videos usually, which will allow you to see how to do different things within Teams. It's very helpful, and I definitely recommend you look in here if you have any questions, because you can even search help. What's new will allow you to look at the patch notes for your specific version of Teams, and this way you can see anything that has changed every time there's a new update. And then the last two options in the help menu, in my opinion, are the most important. Microsoft takes feedback very seriously, and if there's anything that Teams doesn't do that you would like it to do, click here for suggest a feature. And if there's anything that Teams does that you would like it to do a little bit differently or a little bit better, you can go ahead and click on give feedback here. Give feedback, go ahead and type in whatever is pertinent to you. If you go to suggest a feature, it actually will give you a list of features people have already suggested. So we definitely recommend going through this list, and you can vote on the ones that you think are important, and that way we don't have the same feature being suggested by 1,000 different people. You want to go ahead and vote on the ones that you think are important. And then you can also search through this menu as well. A lot of features that Teams currently has are features that were added through the Suggest a Feature portal. So we definitely take that very seriously and want to make sure that you are suggesting features whenever you have those ideas. So do we have any other pressing questions that I need to go over?
There is one question. Where is it? Here it is. Is there an email notification for meeting invites?
Yes, by default, there is an email notification for meeting invites. You can also, under settings, notifications, meeting notifications. You can change whether or not you want to get notifications for meetings.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I believe that's going to be it for our training today. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to coming out and visiting our training. If you look in the announcements, John actually posted a survey. We would really appreciate it if you could click on that link and fill it out. Again, we take feedback very seriously, and we would love to hear your feedback on this training and how you think this training went. Again, thank you everybody for coming, and let's all have a wonderful Monday.
Thank you guys for joining. Also, somebody in the Q&A said that you were doing a very awesome job, Shane.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that you guys were enjoying the training. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to visit that help menu in Microsoft Teams. It is very thorough and very comprehensive. And I would also like to thank Kyron and John for managing the question and answer field as well.
Thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.